Renaissance Junior, all is well and all is in divine order if you believe. Thank you, Jackie. You have an outstanding voice, and I love the message of that song. It's really advice for all of us. It's instruction for all of us. But there's two lines in that song that I just love. The first one, if we believe no one can change the path we must go. And then the second line, if we know ourselves, we're always home. Now, this past Tuesday, I watched people become engaged in this traditional frenzy called Fat Tuesday. Now, for those of you who are familiar with religious and spiritual practice, we have this season, Lent season, which symbolizes 40 days that Jesus spent in the desert reflecting, fasting, praying, and preparing for his ministry. Lent season began this past Wednesday with what we call Ash Wednesday. And those 40 days before Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday, this is the period that we're supposed to be reflecting and fasting, making plans for the future. But the day before Ash Wednesday was Fat Tuesday. This past Tuesday, I saw people lined up outside a bakery searching for punchkis, those high-calorie, high-fat, high-sugar pastries that just blow your diet and your plans for the summer. People were gorging on bad foods and drinks with the idea that they would declare the next day that they would stop gorging and stop engaging in gluttony, and they would begin the Lenten season. 40 days of fasting from something. Did you give up something? What was it? Now, what if I asked you to look at the construct of giving up something and replace it with what we call, what will you give into? What will you give into in the Lenten season? So we're replacing the notion, the mindset of giving up something with what will I give into? Now, speaking of sacrifice and fasting, I want to thank Reverend Wilma for leading us into the recognition of Women's History Month. We have always seen women be the greatest givers on the planet and the most selfless individuals on the planet. Every historical event, there's a woman's signature, her voice, her touch on it. I think we would all agree that in front of every great man is a great woman. I would encourage and invite everyone right now to use the chat box to identify the greatest woman in your life. Share her name with us. She deserves it. Mine would definitely be my mother. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself long before I came into being this spiritual being. She would always have conversations about you can do more, be more, and have more if you just get focused on God. She would say, God is the pathway forward. And so she used to raise my consciousness to that truth principle that indeed I could do all things through the Christ. Man, how powerful was that? For me as a teenager to hear those kind of affirmations. She was incredible. I have to take a deep breath when I think about her. I'm so thrilled about the core belief focus of the month of March. I know if you get this concept, you can apply it to any conceivable or inconceivable experience in your life. This will be a deeper dive into spirituality than we've gone in a long time. I warned you last week that dreams without the awakening to your need to work is a dream deferred. A dream deferred, and it never happens until you awaken. And the Bible says in James 2:26, faith without works is dead. So we turn our focus to the core belief, the activity of spirit, and the divine expression that tells us the truth that we are spiritual beings. All existence, the manifest form and activity of spirit, every living thing is made in the image and likeness of God and is capable of awakening to this realization, as well as giving expression, divine expression to the qualities of unconditional love, compassion, wisdom, peace, and creativity. Unlimited creativity. Now I promise we will unpack that core belief in its totality by the end of the month, and it will change your life for the good, for good. Say that. For the good, for good. How many of you need, want, desire your life to change for the good, for good? Meaning that forever you will experience everything in your life as working for your good, as working consistent with the word. God is love. The universe, God, the almighty mastermind, wants you to experience the totality of love in your life. So in this message, let's focus clearly on the form and activity of spirit. The form and activity of spirit. What does this core belief in its simplest form mean? When we can't see the form of activity of spirit, how do we open our eyes to it is the question. This core belief in its simplest form returns us to the reframing of the Lent season. From what will you give up to what will you give into? Meaning, what will you put your total faith into? Say this, only as much as I believe in it. Only as much as I believe in it. See, the truth is only as much as you believe that we are spiritual beings will you experience it. Only as much as you believe that all existence is the manifest form and activity of spirit will you experience it. Only as much as you believe that every living thing is made in the image and likeness of God and is capable of awakening to this realization will you experience it. Only as much as you believe you will experience yourself giving the expression to the qualities of unconditional love, compassion, wisdom, peace, and creativity. You know, unconditional love, compassion, wisdom, peace, and creativity should sound familiar to you. These are Jesus-like qualities, but they are exclusively the nature of God, the mastermind spirit. Only as much as you believe. Let's go a little deeper, because some of you are telling me that you can't manifest, and that's because you're limiting yourself. As much as you believe, you can experience. Say this awakening truth with me. There are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. Again, there are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. As I say, none, not anything in the pathway. If there's an obstacle in your pathway of seeing and experiencing happiness, prosperity, abundance, love, eternal life, and you expressing yourselves as that unconditional love, compassion, wisdom, peace, and creativity, it's because you have placed an obstacle, a blockage, a stone in front of a tomb, and now you've allowed yourself to be trapped inside of that tomb, trapped inside of that mindset, trapped inside of that behavior. So when we say or indicate that we can't see the form and activity of spirit, we open our eyes to the form and activity of spirit by rolling away the stone, removing the obstacle, removing the blockage to your pathway forward. The stone, the obstacle, the blockage, they all come from us narrowly defining our identity. It's a construct of self-identity. The frequently asked question is, what are you? And our response is, I'm just a mother, I'm just a father, just a worker. I'm retired, I'm low income, I'm ill, I'm diseased. No. These are labels and titles, self-characterizations that are restricting you and not allowing you to express the qualities of God, that want to come out. They want to expand your self-identity. The question always is, what do I get if I'm courageous enough to move beyond the storm, the obstacles, and the blockages? An awakening to the realization of your true identity and an alignment with the Christ mind that desires you to move forward and expand and express. Expand and express. Say that. Expand and express. Tell me the truth. Don't you want to expand and express? I need to. I want to. I can. I will. I must expand and express my thoughts, my spirit, my demonstration of self and the self-expression that is divine. This principle, expand and express, can only occur to the degree of your spiritual receptivity. Your spiritual receptivity. Your spiritual receptivity. This leads to your potentiality. You hear that? Your spiritual receptivity leads to your potentiality. About 20 years ago, I was bankrupt. It just blew money. Spent it like water on frivolous things. Experienced some health challenges that really opened the door for me to come to understand and to move on in the notion that spiritual receptivity leads to potentiality. And it helped me move away from the obstacles, the blockages. I heard a story that requires our greatest imagination. Use your imagination. Imagine this, a goose in a bottle. Your task is to get that goose out of the bottle. Now the rules are you can't break the bottle and you can't kill the goose. You got it? Got to get the goose out of the bottle, but you can't break the bottle and you can't kill the goose. Got it? Put it in the chat how you would go about getting that goose out of the bottle. See, the imagination is a powerful thing. Have you had enough time to get the goose out of the bottle? Well, the answer is the goose was never in the bottle. You only imagine this. Many of us imagine ourselves in restrictive and limiting situations because it's just our imagination running wild. I believe the Motown group, the Temptations, had a song called Just My Imagination. They talked about how it just runs away with me. And that's what we do. Most of us let our imagination just run away from the reality, the truth, the Christ Spirit. We do that. But as spiritual beings having a human experience, we are the manifest form and activity of the Almighty Spirit, the Christ, the mastermind, expressing through us, each of us, unique expressions of the Almighty Christ, but made in the image and the likeness of God. And when we awaken through receptivity, we begin to see with our inner eye that becomes open to our potentiality. That's what this life is all about, opening ourselves up, being receptive to come into our potential. So what we're trying to get into perspective is truth. All imaginary illusions of age restrictions, health restrictions, poverty, scarcity, limitation, or unhappiness is uprooted from your consciousness and your unconscious mind. Your conscious and unconscious mind. We live in the spirit of truth and in confident, conscious confidence that the spirit of truth lives in each and every one of us. There are no obstacles in the path of our self-expression, our divine expression. The goose was only in our imagination in that bottle. Practicing this core belief makes you receptive to putting yourself back on the potter's wheel for a reshaping of your thoughts, of your mind, of your spirit, of your demonstration of your identity as now being Christ-minded, led by the mastermind spirit. We learn to transcend what we have seen, what we have experienced, and what we've held on to and claim as ourselves, as our limited identity. We stop living in the tenses. We pull ourselves out of the habit of living in the past tense or living in the future tense. We embrace the presence, the here and the now. This means rethinking and repurposing our past. That advice equals something new. And so we hear that the past equals the future. It's not true. It's not true. The past has passed. So stop aging in place, letting time slip away, drifting away on some memory of the distant past of yesterday. Take this advice. Stop aging in place. Janis Joplin says, you can destroy your now by worrying about your past or worrying about tomorrow. Are you aging in place? Now, this is no reference to age, chronological age at all. Anyone can age in place as the time just slips away. From a spiritual mindset, you rethink your past as a stepping stone, as a pathway to only newness. We've never been here before. We cannot relive the past anyway, so it's ours to lose. Stop taking that human experience into your human body and making it so serious. We must remind ourselves, I am just clay with the spirit capacity to be reborn, reformed, reshaped. I am just clay with the spiritual capacity to be reborn, reformed, reshaped. That's the ideology that helps us move on. I can manifest to new form. The thing that I like about life is realizing that we always can stop, be still, stop, rethink, shift into right thinking, and declare that these images of limitations are neither person, nor place, nor thing. They have no power, they're just illusions. They have no personality, just illusions. They have no presence, they're just illusions. And they have no spiritual laws or core beliefs to support them. We're limitless. It really is time to allow yourself to expand and express a higher consciousness of yourself. It's time to get back on that potter's wheel. It's time to become filled with greater belief, greater receptivity that leads to greater potentiality. Remember, if you believe, and only as much as you believe, you'll experience this. But once you do, once you totally believe and give your total faith to limitless, the circle becomes complete. You're back home. I love the affirmation poem called "The Circle is Complete." It goes like this: the circle is complete. It comprehends all. It includes all, binds all things together with cords of everlasting unity. I cannot depart from the presence. No wonder I can't wander away from its care. My love is complete within me. The love of God binds me to itself and will not ever let me go. I shall make a new home for myself, away from the past. My new home is heaven. Oh, my wonderful love, we shall journey through life hand in hand. I shall sit in your presence and learn the wonderful things you will teach me. I, having my new beginning in the total spirit of love, began to experience and love life. Renaissance Unity, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it, so you might as well love me back. Amen.